What most garages don't realise is that they're not in the repair business, they're not selling clutches, they are selling time. Now I'm going to show you in this video how to maximise that time that you're selling, how to get the most efficiency out of your technicians and earn as much money as you can. First things first, when you're looking at your diary, what you'll want to be seeing is a full diary. You might have 4 technicians, for example. You might have then 8 hours a day that you can potentially sell to your technicians. So in there, you've got 32 hours worth of time that you can sell to earn your money. Now, most people will look at their garage and say, oh, there's 8 jobs booked in and that's enough work for today. Actually, that might only be 10 hours worth of work. That is not enough to keep your garage running. So what GDS will do for you is allow you to easily see how many hours you've got available, how many hours have been booked, and who's available to book into those times. Because again, you might have technicians that are specific for MOTs or for diagnostics. You need to know, are they available to do that work? Because again, if you book in too much work on one technician, you're going to then disappoint your customers and have to follow on for the next day. You may also have walk-in work. You might have work off the back of MOTs or services or diagnostics. This also needs to be made accountable for. So within the system, my recommendation, what I've always done in my garages is I will always put a buffer in. Okay, so I will always have a 20% buffer at the end of the day where I can fit in my remedial work from MOTs, from services, from diagnostics. Now, this can be easily set up in the system. You can set with your technicians, you can set with your bays so that you can allocate all of the work in your day to day. On the screen here, we can see I have my technicians laid out. Here, I've got work booked in on technicians and I have my free space. So this is your time you can book essentially on here. So I can see I can work on Kane, on Anna and on Phil today. This white space needs to be filled. Now I will always book up 2 or 3 o'clock in the day. I will allow 2 hours at the end of the day if my working hours are 9 till 5 or 8 till 5 for that remedial work. This gives me a buffer that I can fit in any additional work so I'm not disappointing customers. I'm getting work out of the door day to day. We can also see on an overview on here in your month view, actually I have bookings booked in. Okay, so on the 14th here, for example, I had 1 appointment and I only have 2.5 available hours booked on that day. This gives you a higher level overview of actually, can I put some work in that day? If a customer rings up and says, I need to book a clutch in, or a wet belt, something like that, I can look at that and say, no, I can't fit that in on that day. This will give you a much better idea of where you're at and what you're doing day to day. If everything is all set up correctly with your technicians, with their available hours, and your bookings and times are all put onto those job sheets. I worked very closely with a garage. They had 8 ramps, they had 10 technicians, they had a lot of throughput, but actually they were only filling probably 30% of their hours day to day. Their technicians were always busy. However, they were not tracking the hours that they were selling. And actually, when we looked through the stats, they were not selling anywhere near what they needed to. So 80%, that's the benchmark you want to be at when you're at sales of hours during the day. Another problem a lot of garages have is wasted time because we don't have the right information at hand at the right time. Massive example of this is technicians waiting around for work, technicians waiting for information from front of the house, standing in the office, not selling time, not working on vehicles. Now this is something with a well set out job card, a well set out plan of the day, you will reduce massively. So for example, I've created a job sheet here. On here will give me everything that I need to know as a technician to complete this work. So I can see the vehicle reg, I can see the customer, I can see who it's assigned to, so I know that's for me. I can see the parts that are required, I can see the labour that needs to be done on this job. And there's also additional notes, so if there's any previous advisories or if there's any notes about that specific vehicle, we would put it on that job card so that the technician has everything to hand that they need. We also have access to Haynes Pro as well, so they can get all the technical information that they need. This is a big one. I used to have it a lot in my garages where you would have technicians waiting for wiring diagrams or waiting for information that you can get from these technical datas. Whereas I can see that as a technician, 2-hand adjustments. I can see fault code diagnostics. We can see fuse locations, procedures, everything that they need to know is on hand. So there's no wasted time, and that means more efficiency, more sale of hours. So if you're finding you're having any of these issues, you can get a personalized demo with any one of our team and just click the link in the description. Now, even when technicians have all this information to hand, they complete their job cards in a timely manner, they get all their work done, there is still the end of day issue that a lot of garages that I've been to have. Now, at the end of the day, you might have 15, 20 job cards that all need invoicing. all need customers contacting, all need paying off. This should be done throughout the day. And this is something, as soon as a job is completed, we'll invoice the job, we will send a payment link out, we will contact the customer and advise that it's ready. So we can get everything done before the end of the day. I used to have it all the time. I'd have 10, 15 people all queuing up at 4 o'clock wanting to get their invoice, get their keys and pay their invoice. This will drastically reduce that drama at the end of the day. This job card here, for example, I can move my job into completed as soon as that work is done. Okay, so once that is in progress, been completed, move it straight into completed and create my invoice straight from that job sheet. So there's no waiting around. At the end of the day, creating these invoices, they are created. So that's now an invoice created. I can send the customer a text, I can send them an email with them on. I can also send them payment links. So I can say, right, please request payment online. They'll go through, pay that through the link, and then everything is all sped up at the end of the day. All they're doing when they're coming in, picking up their invoice copy, picking up their keys and walking away. There's no hanging around. There's no having to wait to make sure everything's put on the invoice. At the end of the day, everything's all on, the parts are on there. Get all that done beforehand. That's all makes life 100 times easier at the end of the day. And finally, the last thing that people fail to do is setting the next day up ahead of time. Now, I've been to thousands of garages where they'll walk in first thing in the morning. The technicians don't know what they're doing. They don't know who's doing what job, where the parts are. They'll spend an hour of the day, at the beginning of the day, everyone just setting the day up, ordering the parts. This can all be done beforehand. And this is all driven from your diarisation. The best process that I've always wanted is you're ordering your parts the day before. They're ready. They're all ready for the next day. Everything for the next day is allocated to a technician or to a bay so that you know what you're going to be doing when you're walking in as a technician. You've got 3 or 4 jobs all spread out for the day. This is what you're doing. The parts are already there. All of your overflow work, all of the stuff that's carrying over from the day before potentially needs to be allocated in the calendar. Otherwise, we're forgetting about it. We need to be putting that in and allocating it to a technician so it's part of the next day. It's not forgotten about and it's not left behind. But there's one more thing that all garages that are running over 80% efficient are doing, and that is web bookings. So our Connect feature will give you that ability. Now, every garage that's taking web bookings frees up time with your front of house. I used to take 300 web bookings a month. That was a week's worth of call time for one of my front of house, one of my service advisors. If we can free them up and get the bookings dropped directly into the calendar, we don't need the front of house to waste that time. They could be doing things that they should be doing. They should be doing parts chasing, they could be doing estimates, they could be following up with customers. All that sort of stuff can then be done freely, and it's part of the package, so you're not having to pay someone to do these bookings. It is the cheapest employee you will ever have. Now, with Connect, what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to actually set up what services you want on there, whether it be MOTs, whether it be servicing. Aircon regas is always a good one. They're plug and plays, so you can crack on and do something else at the same time. Anything you want to put on there, you can do so, and you can set the specific timings, and you can build the site specifically for those jobs. Now, what the customer will then be able to see is the availability online that you have. So this is what we would provide you. I can make a booking. I can then select what I'm doing as an MOT. Is it a service? I'm doing MOT. And I can select when I want to do that. So I might do Thursday AM. Select my slot. And that's all predetermined by you guys. This will save you no end of time. It'll also organize your day as well, because you don't have to then move things around. It's already preset for you. No one's having to speak to the customers. That is there ready to go. And you know, right, I've got an 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 MOT. So those are the most common things that the garages have issues with when it comes to bookings, when it comes to optimizing their time during the day. So if you'd like to see more information on the Connect feature I've just run through, there is a live stream available on screen now.